Okay.
But now it's in prison.
Right. I thought I'd do a bit on charcoal today. So we'll be carrying on with the drawing buildings and urban scenes ideas, but I thought, yeah, use a bit of charcoal. So if you've not used charcoal before, there's a couple of different kinds. You can get this. This is like the traditional willow charcoal, which is just really just twigs turned into charcoal. And you can get this in different thicknesses. So that I think that's fairly thick. You can get it right down to very thin bits that snap. Just got to look at them and they snap. Or you can get this really thick, chunky scene painters charcoal. That's quite good for blocking big areas in. So that's that stuff. And then the other kind you can get is compressed charcoal, which is really charcoal all ground up and then stuck back together, and it looks a lot more regular in shape. So there are two kinds. Plus, the compressed charcoal you can also get in pencil form, pencil. It also depends on. So the paper that you use, if your paper's got a little bit of a tooth, you can get a nice dark tone to it. If it's a bit smoother, like this is just a bit of photo paper, you find it will go to more of a kind of silvery grey. It doesn't go quite as dark. So if you wanted to use that and then go really dark, you'd probably need the compressed charcoal, which is always very, very black. So that's the difference in the look. Let's just pop a bit of this down. There's also a difference in the way that if you wanted to remove it, this will come off very easily, and it's very easy to just smudge your drawings and wipe it out. So I can get back to that sort of tone just wiping it with my fingers. I can also use a rubber and get it a little bit lighter. So it's almost back to the colour of the paper. With the compressed charcoal, you find it's harder to rub it out, and it still stays a lot greyer. So this is just these little plastic rubbers, which you need to keep fairly clean with charcoal, because it will just end up smearing everywhere. So that's that. Two different kinds. So if I do a little bit. So the way I work it is I tend to use the fine stuff, the twig stuff the most, and then maybe use the compressed if I just want something really dark. So I'll use this as a demonstration. So we'll leave this something like that. So I tend to just, and then this one's going back this way. So this is the idea of the perspective, that some of these will be at different angles. In front of that chimney can come down to that there, that will come back that way, this side will go back that way. So something like this front face here, this obviously is catching the light, this side's in shadow. So on this lighter side, if I want a lightish grey, I tend to just put some down and then just work it into the paper. So you can use your fingers, or you can use these sort of paper blenders if you come across these. These are quite good for just blending it into the paper. So that's quite nice to just even it out a little bit. On this other side, I've got a darker still. Probably not quite as dark as that. I'll need to sort of make it a bit darker and then just soften it out a little bit. I'll also bring this whole of this front face into shadow as well. Do that to start with. Work that in a little bit with the blender. That stays nice and dark. This bit, I don't want it a little bit lighter than the roof. I'm really thinking about these windows and how, let's leave that out a little bit. And then where the window frames are, you just darker again, and just leave some spaces there. So something a little bit like that. I might be able to lighten them up a little bit. I don't want them completely light, but maybe use that. These are like a battery powered rubber, and these can be quite good for lightening things up a little bit. So that's quite nice for the lightened edge of the window frame. Like that. So it's a bit of light reflecting off there. This one. So with the shrubs, I'll probably do something like this, and then these can be quite nice because you can then almost sort of, if you've got a bit of charcoal on them, you can almost draw with them, suggest some of the texture of the foliage. So it's quite nice to pick an image where you can just play around with the medium a little bit, really. Could also put this up, maybe put a few tiles in here and there, a few marks just to suggest a different texture. And then for the details, this is probably where I'd use the charcoal pencil, or something where I can get an edge. So this sort of window, bars and things like that, and a little bit of shadow under the window sills. Down here, a little bit of shadow up here. I'd suggest a few of these little bits of weatherboarding. So you can get a range of different textures. It's almost quite awkward to use. Maybe just the willow on its own, but sometimes if you add some of the other kinds in, there's a little bit of shadow under here. It can work out quite nice. Vary that a little bit. There's a shadow. You can also, if you want to use some of these sort of textures, sort of break up the surface, that might be quite nice. So it's just and so kind of dragging across the surface. I don't think it's anything else I can tell you. You could, this was demoed from the other day, and I was just playing around with that a little bit this morning before everybody came in, but I used a white. So what I did was I did a little bit of rubbing out using this. Once you've got rid of little bits, you could then go in with something quite bright and white. If you just want to bring in some highlights, or some of these sort of lines on the thatch, and kind of add a little bit more texture to it.
Is that a charcoal? What's that?
This is like a pastel pencil, just a white pastel pencil. It doesn't generally show up. It very quickly goes grey, so it's quite nice working on here because it's like shades of grey. But if you wanted like a really bright highlight, I might be able to get it to. So if we just get that little bit of reflection on the window, I'll probably have to rub it out first. But I might then be able to get something a bit brighter to stand out. Otherwise, it will just merge in and go grey very quickly. But yeah, there's some of the tools that I tend to use.
And is that a better rubber to use with charcoal?
And you can, well, a plastic rubber. Well, there's all sorts really. It depends what you're doing. Because these plastic rubbers are quite good for big areas. These are good for just odd dots and dashes and details. These are like a putty rubber, so you need to kind of squidge it and knead it. But if I wanted to say lift something, just little areas out here, it can be quite good for just lifting little tiny bits, sort of breaking up the textures a little bit, that sort of thing. So it depends what you want to do. One of the downsides of charcoal is that it's very delicate, it's very easy to smudge it. So I tend to use some sort of fixative, something like a hairspray, so that's some sort of, I think that's hairspray. Or you can have some like proper artist fixative, that's good. Or the aerosol stuff, and just give it a couple of coats, let it dry, maybe give it another couple of coats, and just build up gradually. You can, you know, if I wanted to keep that like that, I could probably fix that sort of like that, let that dry, and then probably work over the top of that, but that would then stay put. So if I wanted to kind of gradually build a drawing up and keep some areas the way I've got them, you can fix drawings in layers. I've not particularly done that myself, but I've heard that, you know, that's something you can do. The other way to protect them is just to get another sheet of paper and just stick it almost like a hinge down one side and then just cover it up. You want to kind of avoid things rubbing the surface really. So if you can just sort of protect the surface with like another sheet of paper or some greaseproof paper or something like that, that's quite a good way of just protecting the surface. So if anybody wants to try out charcoal, I've got lots of charcoal here. Well, very welcome to use any of this if you want to give it a go. It's quite a nice medium for just working. You can see how quickly that kind of build tones up. So it should be a lot slower with pencil. It's a nice quick medium.